Rudy Giuliani informed he is the target of a criminal investigation in Georgia. Rudy is being investigated. The former New York mayor has been identified as a key figure in Donald Trump's attempt to overturn the result of the 2020 election. So this is the criminal investigation that has proceeded the furthest as it pertains to Trump and his inner circle. Donald Trump's former attorney, Rudy Giuliani, is a target of the criminal investigation in Georgia that has been examining efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election in that state by former president and his allies. A source briefed on the matter confirmed on Monday. The move to designate Giuliani, 78 years old, as a target as opposed to a subject raises the legal stakes for the ex-New York mayor, identified as a key figure in the attempt to reverse the former president's electoral defeat to Joe Biden in the state. Now, let me pause here to tell you, Giuliani was one of the chief architects of attempting to overthrow the election. Now, he's massively incompetent, so he failed gloriously, but he was one of the chief architects. And I think they're going to touch on some of the more specifics here as to what he did. There's also another prominent Republican senator who this investigation is looking into. Maybe the other one's not the subject of a criminal investigation, but they were hands-on with the attempt to overthrow the election in Georgia. So anyway, we'll get to that in just a little bit here. It also raises the legal pressure on Trump, who is himself facing increased legal exposure amid a Justice Department investigation over his unlawful retention of government documents. That's something that we've been talking a lot about recently. The notice that Giuliani was now a target of the Georgia investigation came on Monday from the office of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. The source said, being identified as a target means only that a person may be a defendant in the event of an indictment. Still, the disclosure, earlier reported by the New York Times, presents Giuliani with difficult choices, including whether to invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination in a deposition or cooperate in the hopes of earning leniency at sentencing. There are reports coming out today that Giuliani is saying, my main goal right now is to die a free man. That is curious. That might be a sign of, hey, maybe I'm willing to make a deal with y'all, depending on how much dirt you got on me. And by the way, there's plenty of dirt on him because, by the way, he argued some of the court cases. You know, the 60-plus rigged election court cases? Giuliani argued some of them. I mean, he hasn't practiced law since the 1990s, but he told Trump, yeah, let me argue it for you. And he performed so poorly that one of the judges who listened to, you know, his spiel said, you're not even, like, bringing up the relevant statutes here when trying to build your case. And in the same phone call with the judge, he both argued fraud and also argued, I'm not alleging fraud. He's such a mess, this guy. The target designation came after a Fulton County judge said informing Giuliani about his status would give some clarity on what impact that has on the extent of his time in front of the grand jury, given he is expected to take a lengthy road trip from Georgia from New York. Giuliani is under scrutiny by the special grand jury because of his integral role in the former president's potentially unlawful scheme to pressure Republican legislatures to send to Congress fake electoral certificates for Trump in states like Georgia actually won by Biden. That effort, coordinated in part by Giuliani alongside the Trump campaign and Trump White House officials, is also the subject of the congressional inquiry into the Capitol attack being conducted by the House January 6th Select Committee, as well as a separate Justice Department investigation. Giuliani is additionally understood to be under investigation for propagating false claims about fraud in the 2020 election, including that thousands of underage teenagers had voted illegally in Georgia, a claim disproven in an audit conducted by the Secretary of State. But that's the thing, like, you get these guys dead to rights, what they say is factually incorrect, and they plow ahead anyway. The only accountability I've seen on that front is when Dominion sued, and maybe Smartmatic or one of the other voting machine companies, they sued One America News Network, they sued Newsmax, and basically got them to come out on air and say, look, there's no evidence that these machines are controlled by Venezuela or, Maduro or whatever, fill in the blank, because the lies were so egregious. And a court ruled, yes, these cases have merit to them. We have we're incredibly lenient on the issue of speech in this country, as we should be. We believe in free speech here. But you can't just flat out lie maliciously on purpose about something like the election being stolen because of these voting machines, because that also materially damaged them in the future from getting any sort of, any sort of contract for future elections. So judges said, hey man, stop, you can't lie anymore. And Newsmax and One American News Network probably are going to have to pay a lot of money over that. And now they're catching Giuliani totally dead to rights with a disproven claim. Now that's the lower of the charges though, because he was instrumental in setting up the fake electors scam. Guys, they actually did it with documents and everything, like fake documents and everything. The latest legal development for Giuliani came the same day that a federal judge rejected an attempt by another prominent Trump ally, the Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, to avoid testifying in the same investigation before the special grand jury in Atlanta, Georgia. So Graham is being looked at too. In the ruling against Graham, U.S. District Court Judge Lee Martin May said that prosecutors showed there was a special need for Mr. Graham's testimony on issues relating to alleged attempts to influence or disrupt the lawful administration of Georgia's 2022 elections. Graham is scheduled to testify on August 23rd, although he has said he will appeal. Graham, a subject in the investigation, according to his lawyers, is a person of interest because he placed 2 calls to the Georgia Secretary of State in 2020 and asked about ways to invalidate certain mail-in votes. These guys were committing crimes on some nonchalant, blasé shit. You can't do that, bro. You can't do that. He did it. He did it. So, in the case of Giuliani, look, they have it on video. Like, they have him setting up the whole fake elector scheme on video. Now, Lindsey Graham, I don't know if those phone calls are recorded, but Trump, his phone calls recorded, the find me 11,000 votes. This is of all the cases, this is the one with the most there. And this is the one that is most likely to bring about shocking results. Whether it's Giuliani being found guilty, whether it's Trump being found guilty, whether it's the specific fake electors that they used actually going to prison, which they might, that's all on the table. And Rudy, it finally caught up with him, being a totally unhinged lunatic, and, going around trying to make Trump emperor, that finally caught up with him. So he's the target of a criminal investigation. And honestly, I lean in the direction of he's going down. There's just too much evidence. There's just too much there. Unless he cuts a deal and gets a lighter sentence or gets out. But who would he have to give up in a deal? I don't know. Let me think about that one. I think you guys know the answer to that. So things are definitely getting spicy. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.